back to Brosekai. I wanted to do a quick video today because I've been thinking about this for a long time, way before the channel even started actually. And it is all about, what is the One Piece? What is the theory behind it? What is it actually going to be likely in 2 to 3 years from now, once we probably have about 2 more arcs to go, if I had to guesstimate, maybe 3. And about 2 to 3 years from now, I think we're going to finally have a reveal. And it's going to probably be during the final arc, which, if I had to guess, will probably be Laugh Tale. And I think at that point, everything is just going to fall into place. And we're going to see, okay, it was this the entire time. These are the lead-up events, and now they're here, basically. And I'm going to talk about that in just a few minutes. So, I've been postulating this for a long time, many months now, about what is the actual One Piece. And before we get into it, I'd like to go back a little ways and actually start talking about the world, the ancient weapons, and how we got here. So, for all you who didn't already know, the One Piece world is very different from our own. Fictional world divided up by islands. Some are underground, such as Fishman Island, or under the sea rather. Parts of Wano are underground too, as we saw 2 arcs ago now. And then you also have islands like Skypiea, which are in the sky, and just like the name suggests. And we see that everything is very spread out, and everybody has to build a boat or has to cross the Grand Line, and they have to figure out how exactly to get to these different islands. And that's how the whole arc started, of course, back almost 28 years ago. The Red Line is a literal red line. It's almost like a cliffside that's elevated above the water, and it wraps around the entirety of the One Piece world. I have a picture of it here. And as a result, the Red Line is way elevated above the sea level. And the crazy thing is that in the Egghead arc, which was 2 arcs ago now, we saw that Dr. Vegapunk had a pretty big theory about this. His theory was that, and this is a big statement twist near the end of the arc, after the Gorosei was trying to shut him down, that the world is actually going to flood. And this is, I think, where the whole thing starts, because you have the Red Line elevated. Marijoa, which is the capital where the Celestial Dragons, everyone lives, is atop of the Red Line, and to that point, Kuma tried to climb that cliffside to get to Marijoa, and it just shows just how far up the Red Line and Marijoa is from the rest of the ocean and the actual world. So thinking about this a little bit more, you have Dr. Vegapunk's big speech, the world's going to flood, and I think that takes us to the ancient weapons. So a little bit of a recap here. Let's go back several years, and let's talk about what we know about the ancient weapons and what I think the other ones are going to end up being. So first of all, let's start in non-alphabetical order, or non-planetary order rather, and let's go with Neptune. Neptune, I believe, is the first one introduced to us way back in the Fishman Island arc. They're under the sea, and Neptune seemed to be a giant boat or an ark-like ship that could actually traverse the sea. And I think this is going to be really important because they knew about this in the ancient Void Century and the previous centuries, and that's why I think Neptune was created, was to basically have a way to survive if the sea level does rise up as Vegapunk predicted, which I think is going to be true. And we'll probably see that happen as we get closer and closer to the end of the story. Now, Neptune by itself, I think, is a big hint, right? Because, okay, you got the Red Line, everything's elevated, Marijoa is on top of it. Neptune is a way to basically survive because the ocean's going to rise up as a result of the world they live in. And I think that leads into the next ancient weapon, which we've also seen in action before a couple of times, or at least it's been once and then hinted at a second time, which is Uranus. And Uranus, I believe, is like the Hammer of Dawn. It's like that giant beam of light that falls from the sky and is able to blow islands out of existence, which we've seen happen at least once, and it's been hinted at twice now. Uranus is pretty crazy because it's not a ship or a vessel like Neptune is, but rather it's a legitimate weapon that we think is powered by the Mother Flame, which is another big reason why on Egghead, Vegapunk was trying to keep the Mother Flame away from the Gorosei so badly, and he was trying to basically trick Mars into going to the wrong one with those different Den Moshis, which was really interesting too. And then, of course, the main one was hidden in the Giants, right? And the interesting thing there, of course, was the Giant was finally taken down, but after he released that giant knot of pent-up Joy Boy Conqueror's Haki, which was really cool to see too. And Emeth the Giant, that's his name. And as we continue to go here, Uranus, I believe, is going to be controlled by Imu, of course. So Imu has basically the power of the ancient weapon Uranus and is able to destroy islands at will. I also think this is leading into my final theory here. This is why the islands are so spread out. It's because Uranus has been used on multiple occasions. And when that does happen, the islands split off. Some sink to the bottom of the sea, maybe, we don't fully know that yet. And some, of course, get blasted off to disparate parts of the ocean. So a little bit more to come there in a few minutes. The other thing too, and we haven't talked about yet, is Pluton. Now, Pluton was heavily hinted at back in Wano, and during Wano, we saw a few different things happen, right? So not only were Big Mom and Kaido defeated, which led them to basically sink to the bottom of Wano, which is way under the sea, more on that later, but we also saw that Pluton was at least hinted at. And we saw Frankie talk about it a little bit, and we're basically left to wonder, what is Pluton? What could it be? And I think there's a couple of things for this too. So the more that we talk about this, the more the ancient weapons start to at least make a little bit of sense. Maybe there's going to be a pattern here of them. Is Pluton another ship? Is it another weapon? I don't fully know yet. Maybe it's the Tetseiga to the Tetsaiga, possibly. But we can see that happen as they discover it. Now, back to Big Mom and Kaido really quick. Maybe that's how they survived. Maybe they were able to fall to the bottom of Wano, and hidden underneath there was actually going to be the remnants of Pluton, or where it was hidden the entire time since the Void Century. Maybe, I don't know. We might get a big flashback once again to God Valley, Laugh Tale, when Roger originally went there, and maybe we'll see a little bit more about what happened and what Pluton actually turns out to be. Now, going forward, this all accumulates into my theory of, well, if the islands are spread out, if they were maybe broken off from one another, some are under the sea, some are in the sky, then what actually is the One Piece? What was the reason why in Laugh Tale, when it was finally revealed, Roger left? Was it because he was too early? I think so. I think he was not the one to actually use it or be part of the prophecy, right? Because he was the one on Laugh Tale, and he couldn't help but just laugh after learning of the big twist, which is why I think it's simple, but at the same time it's kind of complex. And that leads me to my next part, which is Roger is not Joy Boy. So the reincarnation of Joy Boy has been revealed through the Nika Nika fruit, and it's almost like the twist, right? That it was actually the mythical model Zoan, Nika Nika the entire time. It wasn't just like Gomu Gomu no Mi. And Luffy, of course, stole it, ate it, and became the reincarnation of Joy Boy. Joy Boy, during the previous Void Century, we think also at least stored this on Laugh Tale. Maybe he had the secret stored on Laugh Tale, and we're going to see more of that at the end of the story. Now, what is the actual One Piece, though? Well, thanks to Nika Nika returning and everything coming back into play, the prophecy of the Void Century coming into fruition once again, I think that the One Piece was literally a reunified Pangea of sorts. So I think that before the previous Void Century and previous battle, the world of One Piece was literally a Pangea, just a collection of continents all fused together. It wasn't a bunch of islands like it is currently. And I think that's because of the use of the ancient weapons and what happened afterwards. So, and that's maybe why they're hidden away as we see currently. And because of that, they were split apart, the cultures grew apart from each other, and we have a lot of hatred, animosity, and world government problems that they currently have in the world. So, what's going to happen is, I think, probably Nika, or maybe in conjunction with the prophecy, with what they find in Laugh Tale, is going to find a way to reunify everything back into that singular continent. And I think that is literally what the One Piece is going to be. It's going to be the reunification of worlds. It's going to be the cultures brought back together. And maybe they will have a party at the end. Maybe there will be a little bit of the friends you made along the way joke that's very rampant right now. That at the very, very end of it, once the worlds are actually brought back together. So there you have it. I've been thinking about this for a long time. I think it holds a little bit of water, pun intended. And I think everything is going to work out that way, and there's going to be at least a relatively happy ending to it. Now, before that, though, do I think some things are going to go down? Absolutely. We still have a long way to go. We still need to see, currently we're at chapter 1151, 1152 will be coming out soon. We currently see a lot of things happening. We see Imu's true power, probably some sort of ancient awakened devil fruit, if I had to guess, able to literally possess other people remotely and demonize them, which is pretty crazy. Of course, they have to find a way to defeat Imu first. Blackbeard is going to show up as well. There's going to be some other big battles. They have to discover Laugh Tale, of course. The revolutionaries are going to take down Marijua before that, probably. And then I think the entire story is going to continue to progress, but we are not there yet. So let me know what you think. We have a long way to go, but I think that's going to be roughly what the ending of One Piece is going to be. I'd love to hear your thoughts, your questions, your comments. Please like and subscribe, of course. I love it. This channel is a lot of fun. It's kind of a passion project of mine, but if you all would help me out, I'd really appreciate it. Well, thanks for tuning in to Brosec, everybody. I'll see y'all next time. Peace.